What if I told you that thousands of years before globalization, there was a vast network that connected the East and West, bridging continents, cultures, and ideas across deserts, mountains, and bustling cities? This was the Silk Road, a superhighway of trade and knowledge that transformed civilizations, shaping the world as we know it today. Long before the internet, this was humanity's first attempt at global connection, and its legacy lives on. But what challenges awaited those brave enough to venture on this ancient road? The story of the Silk Road begins in the 2nd century BCE, during the reign of Emperor Han Wudi of China. Ambitious and visionary Han Wudi sought to expand his empire's influence westward into uncharted lands. West of China lay the daunting Taklamakan Desert, one of the world's largest deserts and aptly nicknamed the Sea of Death. It's located in modern-day Xinjiang, China. Yet, despite the peril, Han Wudi sent envoys to explore new routes, and among them was Zhang Qian, a man whose travels would forever change history. Zhang's explorations led to an establishment of trade routes that would later be known as the Silk Road, named for China's most coveted export, silk. Silk was much more than just a luxurious fabric. In the ancient world, it was a symbol of sophistication and wealth. Lightweight, durable, and beautiful, silk was in high demand across distant lands, sparking a trade route that soon extended from China all the way to the Mediterranean. The Silk Road was born, and so begins a journey of goods, ideas, and cultures. But how would traders brave the hazards of this formidable road? For merchants, the Silk Road was as perilous as it was rewarding. Travelers faced some of the world's most unforgiving landscapes. The towering Pamir Mountains, so high they were called the roof of the world, and the scorching Taklamakan Desert, which split the Silk Road into northern and southern branches to avoid its treacherous heart. Imagine the stakes for traders. One wrong turn could lead to dehydration, sandstorms, or worse. Would you risk it all for the promise of fortune? Along these harsh routes, oasis cities like Kashgar and Samarkand became lifelines for traders. Here, weary merchants could rest, resupply, and exchange goods. These oasis cities grew into bustling trade hubs, where traders of all backgrounds mingled, sharing not only their goods, but stories, beliefs, and customs. So who were the people that they encountered, and how did these exchanges impact them? Well, silk may have given the road its name, but it was far from the only item exchanged. The Silk Road became a bustling marketplace for an astonishing variety of goods from across the ancient world. From China came jade and ceramics, while India supplied ivory and spices, glassware from the Roman Empire, pearls from the Persian Gulf, and horses from Central Asia made their way along the route. Imagine the sights and sounds of a Silk Road marketplace, the vibrant colors of spices from India, the clinking of Roman glassware, and the glint of Persian silver. Goods passed from hand to hand, city to city, connecting the most distant lands. Each trade carried stories and sparked curiosity about distant places. It wasn't just material wealth that flowed along the Silk Road, it was a wealth of knowledge and culture. But was trade only about profit, or was there something more to these exchanges? The Silk Road was much more than a path for goods. It was a conduit for knowledge. Alongside silk and spices, ideas traveled. One of the most significant was Buddhism, which spread from India to China. Buddhist monks and merchants carried religious texts and teachings, establishing temples along the route. Over time, Buddhism flourished in China, profoundly shaping its cultural landscape. But it wasn't only Buddhism that moved along these ancient paths. The Silk Road became a melting pot of ideas, merging Eastern and Western influence. Scientists, artists, and philosophers all interacted in the oasis cities, exchanging knowledge in medicine, astronomy, and art. The Silk Road was a meeting ground of diverse minds, creating a shared cultural legacy that bridged the East and the West. Who could have predicted that the ideas exchanged here would reshape civilizations? Maintaining such a vast network was no easy feat. The empires played a critical role in securing the Silk Road. The Han Dynasty, the Persian Empire, and even the Roman Empire invested heavily in keeping these trade routes safe. Yet perhaps no group was as instrumental as the Sogdians, a people from Central Asia whose merchants became the Silk Road's main carriers. Sogdian traders were skilled diplomats and linguists. Their language became the route's lingua franca, allowing merchants from different cultures to communicate and trade. But what drove these empires to protect the Silk Road? Was it merely wealth, or was there a deeper need to connect with the world? In Persia, emperors like Darius and Xerxes established caravansaries, road inns that provided food, water, and shelter for merchants on their journey. These resting points, established during their reigns in the 5th century BCE, were vital for survival in the harsh conditions of the road, fostering a sense of unity and shared purpose among traders. But what challenges awaited these travelers beyond the wall of the caravanserais? The Silk Road reached its peak between 500 and 1500 CE, with an especially vibrant period under the Mongol Empire. The Mongols, led by Genghis Khan, fostered what became known as the Pax Mongolica, a time of unprecedented peace and stability under Mongol rule that made the Silk Road safer and more efficient than ever. Genghis Khan and his successors valued the goods and knowledge brought by traders, transforming the empire's capital, Karakorum, into a cultural hub where scholars, craftsmen, and merchants from all corners of the world could gather. But what motivated Genghis Khan to embrace foreign culture? Was he simply a conqueror, or did he envision something greater? Now, this stability allowed trade to flourish, and new goods and ideas flowed freely. The Mongol rulers themselves were fascinated by foreign culture and even hired foreign artisans and engineers to serve in their courts. Under Mongol rule, the Silk Road wasn't just a pathway, it was a thriving and interconnected world all of its own. Would this peace last, or was it only a matter of time before new conflicts emerged? The Silk Road wasn't just about silk and spices, it was a pipeline for revolutionary technologies. Take papermaking, for example. Originally developed in China, papermaking traveled along the Silk Road, reaching the Middle East and eventually Europe, where it transformed the way information was recorded and shared. Imagine a world before paper, a world where knowledge was far harder to preserve and share. Paper changed that, fueling an intellectual revolution that would lay the groundwork for the Renaissance. But it wasn't just paper. The Chinese compass and gunpowder as well made their way westward, revolutionizing navigation and warfare. In exchange, Chinese agriculture saw new crops from the west, like grapes for winemaking. This constant exchange of innovation turned the Silk Road into a two-way street of discovery, impacting every society that it touched. But as with all things, the influence of the Silk Road would face challenges. Religion flourished along the Silk Road, each gaining new followers and adapting to different cultures. Buddhism spread from India to China, but Islam also moved along these routes, reaching as far as Central Asia and China. Christianity, Zoroastrianism, and other religions found converts among the travelers and merchants who crossed paths in the caravanserais. Temples, mosques, and monasteries sprang up along the Silk Road, each serving as a sanctuary for different faith and a testament to the road's rule in spiritual as well as material exchange. Religious interactions along the Silk Road didn't just spread beliefs, they led to theological discussions, inspiring new ideas and interpretations that would shape the development of these faiths for centuries. Could these diverse beliefs coexist peacefully, or would they inevitably crash? By the 16th century, however, the Silk Road began to lose its importance. The development of maritime routes between Europe and Asia provided faster and more reliable paths for trade. With advances in shipbuilding and navigation, European merchants could transport goods by sea, avoiding the treacherous journey across Central Asia. At the same time, political shifts, such as the rise of the Ottoman Empire, disrupted land routes. The overland Silk Road faced competition from the newly accessible sea routes, and gradually, the ancient pathways fell silent. Yet, while some of the Silk Road may have faded, its influence endured, leaving a cultural and historical legacy that remains visible today. So, what do you think? Did the Silk Road's legacy truly end, or does it live on today in our globalized world? The Silk Road was far more than just a route for goods. It wove together the diverse cultures of ancient Eurasia, creating a tapestry of interconnected societies. We can still see its influence in the languages, technologies, and even cuisine that traveled along these paths. The Silk Road shaped the civilizations of Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, laying the foundation for our modern and interconnected world. Today, we look back at the Silk Road not just as a trading route, but as a bridge between civilizations. It stands as a testament to humanity's innate desire to connect, to trade, to share knowledge, and to understand one another. The Silk Road reminds us that even in ancient times, the world was connected by people that were brave enough to cross deserts and mountains in pursuit of a shared future. So the next time you think about globalization, remember, it all started with the Silk Road, the ancient superhighway of trade that paved the way for the interconnected world that we live in today. But as one age of trade ended, another began. So what new paths will our modern Silk Road forge? If you like the video, be sure to drop a comment and like, share, and subscribe with your friends so you never miss another episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on our next adventure.